Hi, I'm Bruce Blitz, and welcome to Blitz on Cartooning. Today's show is on comic strips. Everybody loves comic strips, and everybody has their favorite comic strip, and that's because the characters in these comic strips become like your friends, and you run to the newspaper to see what your friends are up to. Now, there are different kinds of comic strips. There's the daily gag panel or humor strip, there's the action strip, or the continuing drama. And later on in today's program, we're going to be creating our own comic strip, so you definitely want to stay tuned for that. But first, we have a very special treat. Now, as I said, everybody has their own special comic strip, and my absolute favorite is the long-running, beautifully drawn Prince Valiant. And today, we are lucky enough to have, for our special guest, and we're in his studio right now, the artist that has been drawing Prince Valiant since 1970, Mr. John Cullen Murphy. John, thanks so much for having us.
Welcome. Welcome, Bruce.
Yes, that's great. As I said, you've been drawing the strip since 1970,
That's
but
right.
you don't write the strip. Your son does that.
My son does, yeah. We collaborate very closely by phone and through the mails, and he writes me a script, the narrative, and describing the locations, the dialogue, and everything else. And then I letter it onto the page and start drawing.
Okay, let's take a look at something you're working on right now.
I start off putting in all these panels and figuring out where I'm going to have the lettering and that sort of thing, and then I put up the logo and decide in what way to capture as much drama out of the particular scene as possible.
Yeah, I've always admired your magnificent use of blacks, like I see in this first panel here.
Oh, well, that was an easy one because it's by firelight, and you have these long cast shadows, and that gives an added sense of drama to the thing. Also, some of the gestures. It's a static scene, but so I try to enliven it as much as I can. Sure.
Now, I notice down here you have your layout with pencil, and it's very rough at this point. Now, what would you do from here on?
Well, I would. I'm not quite sure about this picture yet. I'm still trying to make my composition, to make that as interesting as possible. These are going to be outdoor scenes, so we're not going to have all that great black in it, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I have to do research on the types of clothing that these people are wearing, what the action is, what they're actually doing. This one, I got to do some more research on a special type of canoe that was used at that time.
That was my next question. Do you keep all this in your head? You have to do these beautiful backgrounds and the elaborate detail?
No. I travel a lot and take pictures all the time, and I also go to the library here, the local library, and do an awful lot of research there. In addition, I have a great library here.
Yeah, I would think you would have to with all this, like I say, this detail.
Yeah.
Now, this is the actual original size, and this is the actual size that it appears in the newspaper, right?
Yeah, that's right. You got
upside down. Okay, how about that?
That's
okay,
good.
And that.
Again, this is you mentioned the use of blacks before. Well, this is an ideal situation. Again, not only is it firelight, but we're in a cave, so you can't beat that for the access to blacks.
It's just beautiful. This is the part I've been waiting for. Would you please draw Prince Valiant and explain to our audience how you construct him and why you draw him the way? I'm going to get out of your way.
Well, of course, I didn't create him. That was done by Hal Foster back in 1937.
He's over 50 years?
Yeah. The Prince himself must be well into his 60s, but he doesn't show his age. This is Prince Valiant. You notice his nose, the aquiline-type nose, which is a distinguishing feature of him. The other outstanding feature about him is his hair. It was quite shocking back in 1937 when you had a hero with long hair. Now it looks quite conservative, actually. It was the Beatles, really, I guess, that made the long hair famous, and his hair is more like the Beatles than anyone else, actually. Sort of a page boy bob.
His looks haven't changed much over the years, have they?
No. He doesn't age too much, although, as I said earlier, he's probably in his 60s by this time, but unlike you and me, he doesn't show his age.
Yeah, he looks terrific.
I'm thinking of putting a few gray hairs in here occasionally, maybe a couple of darker circles under his eyes.
Now, when you were doing your inking on your actual strip, you use a pen. What kind of pen do you use?
Yes, I use a Nibs, 303 is the number of it, and I stick it into a wooden holder and draw. It's very old-fashioned.
And a brush for large black areas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Famous large black areas.
Yeah. Of course, unlike this, I have it rather carefully penciled first, before I go into the ink.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be wasting a lot of paper.
Yeah.
But he has a very strong chin, as you notice.
Mm-hmm.
And he was knighted by the time he was about 18 or 19 years of age for his heroism against the Saxons, fighting against the Saxons back in the 5th century. And he's married, a father of 5 children. He's married to a queen, Lita of the Misty Isles.
Okay.
And here he is.
That's great. That's just great.